Yo guys, what's up? It's True Drew here, and there is a new mechanic in Fortnite. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called mantling, and it's basically where you can climb up over builds if you jump on top of them. And if you want to improve at the game and you haven't experimented much with mantling yet, it is going to be a huge aspect of the game, and you need to learn how to do a few tricks right away that are gonna exponentially improve your fighting skills. So here's just a few simple tricks that you can learn about mantling that should help you out in this new season. Hope you guys enjoy. So the first thing is, what is mantling? It's a new mechanic in Fortnite where if you run up to a build, you can just hop right over it. Cool parkour move. You can just hop right over the build. Now, the first thing I want to do is go over a few techniques that I've learned about mantling that are really going to help you in enhancing and improving your mantling skills to the best that they can be. First one being is that when we come out of a mantle, we actually can't build right away. You'll notice that when you go to mantle, there's a slight delay on when you can pull out your builds. And so a lot of times what happens is people will go to mantle over a wall and they'll try to build and they'll just fall right down and the mantle has become useless. So here's two things regarding mantling that I've learned to help combat that. First one being, we can simply put a cone over the wall that we're going to be mantling on top of and mantle on top of the cone. That helps our transition into building and editing become a lot smoother than it would be otherwise. And the second thing that I learned, and this is a little bit more of a cheeky one, is that if we come and mantle over on the side of the wall, then we just mantle right back up on top of it. And that also helps with the smoothness of our transition into keep on building. Rather than if we're trying to like come back like this, like it just messes up the flow. It's better to learn how to mantle on the side of the wall. And onto cones. So that's the first thing. Second thing is we have two options. If you come into here in your game menu on the second gear icon, we can either activate our mantle by holding forward on our control panel or by holding jump, which for me is clicking down on my analog stick. For me, I've decided that holding jump just feels better to me. I'll explain to you why. The reason being is I think it's really hard when you're doing like jump around mantles. I think it's really hard to hold forward after going this direction and turn around and hold the other direction really fast. I think it's a lot easier just to hold down the same button I just used. But at the end of the day, it's all preference. I have friends that use the hold forward. I have friends that use the hold jump. It just comes down to how you work as a player. So that's a few moves. You might just want to practice it a little bit. Practice situations where you're going to be mantling on top of cones, and practice situations where you're going to be mantling on the side of builds. That's the first thing I did here is when I was practicing my mantles is just throwing up a high wall and practice going on the side of that wall and doing a mantle. And that's a good way to get your mantling form down very well. So now we're going to go into 3 moves that you can apply to your fighting immediately after you learn the basics to mantling. The first one is going to be that first jump around mantle that I showed you. Just where we jump around and we mantle on top of a cone. This one is probably the most applicable to jumping up on a cone. But yeah, you're just going to go into your creative map and you're going to practice ramping up, placing those cones, and then just jumping around your build. Mantling, just at the end of the day, is a very good move to catch your opponents off guard. They won't expect it. They can't hear it as well as if you were to just do a regular jump around. Like so. Now, it's a lot harder to box your opponent right out of a mantle, so you probably don't want to be mantling right where they are. You're probably going to want to save mantles when you're a few boxes away. So the second one is based off of a simple move from back in the day called a Thwifo cone. And I still throw up Thwifo cones a lot in my gameplay, so this one is really good for me. But at the end of the day, once again, mantling is going to be able to fit to whatever play style you use. So I want you to take whatever high ground retakes that you know, however you play the game, and apply these basic concepts of mantling to your own gameplay. For me, it's a Thwifo cone. And if you're a simple player like me, this might be a good mantling trick for you. But we're just going to throw up a Thwifo cone, and then we're going to come mantle around this sidewall like that. And you're pretty protected when you do this, but you're still a little bit exposed for a half second, which can be dangerous. So what I've done is I've actually changed my Thwifo cone, so I'm throwing up 2 more high walls. And then I'm placing my cone. Then when I go to mantle around this, I'm completely protected from the enemy. If that, you obviously you want your high walls to be the direction of where the enemy's coming from, but I'm completely protected from the enemy. I can just keep on going on and building, and that might have helped me take height. Now, the next trick is actually a enhancement to this trick right here. It plays off the same thing. So we're gonna Thwifo cone 2 high walls, come on top of this one, then place 2 high walls again, jump onto a floor, and then go up again. And if you're counting that first ramp, if you're counting this base level of this ramp, 4 layers in a matter of a few seconds. And what I would do is I would just keep practicing this until you have it down really good. And the last move here is one where if you're ramping up and you do this cool little move here where you're protecting your sides, you put a ramp over your head, and then we go and we place a cone here and here. Most of the time what your opponent's going to expect you to be doing is to be kind of jumping around and editing through that cone, then coming up and doing something sort of like this. It may look a little bit different, but like that's the general move they're going to be expecting. What they're not going to be expecting you to do is to be using this cool new mantling technique where we throw up our walls, we throw up our ramp, we cone, and I like not putting a floor here on this move. Let me show you why. I like to cone like this, and we can actually jump around and jump back on top of this cone, which I know is absolutely crazy. Because how many times is your opponent going to expect you to come out from behind that cone and come out just bam, full piece, but boom, pow. Like, no one's ever going to expect you to be doing something like that. But the reason I like to not put a floor there is because if we get in the right spot, we can actually get 2 walls to protect us up there before we jump around. If we go like that. And now we're completely protected. Our opponent's probably expecting us to come through this cone, through this wall, and then up. But we're just going to come right on top of our cone and probably get a full box on him right here, to be honest. That's just a few tips and tricks about mantling to get you going in this Chapter 3, Season 2. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. Light the sunshine on me.